Greetings. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice. It's Friday. Welcome once again to this corner of freedom. I am your guide on this journey through the sewers of power. And today, March 20th, 2026, cynicism is particularly unbearable. Brace yourself because here comes the reality your algorithm doesn't want you to see. Today, we're going to review some relevant events of the week, but we'll also dive into two particular topics. On one hand, we dress up for the occasion or in camouflage, depending on who's in charge, to analyze how our brand new Mexican state keeps playing tag with the usual suspects, but with playground rules. If I tag you, I let you go. We'll also see how the regime's pets, who still believe that money in brown paper envelopes is a contribution to the movement, defend the indefensible. If they had any dignity, they'd be ashamed, but instead they have professional cynicism. It turns out that in the country of we're not the same, the Electoral Tribunal has already decided that they're indeed not the same. They're much, much worse. Let's get to it. Let's start with the controversial Plan B. Where does this blunder stand? Well, in the legislative palace of San Lázaro, love is running out faster than a campaign promise. Morena says they no longer want to share the pie and are moving forward with electoral reform, also known as the manual to make sure no one else ever wins, commonly referred to as the Maduro Law. The funniest part is watching the Green Party and the Partido dos Trabajadores squealing like pigs at the slaughterhouse. The Morena Mafia insists on cutting off their access to public funds, taking away their financing and their artificially prolonged existence. Is it pure cinema to see the Green Party members talking about democracy and plurality when their only ideology has been to survive by clinging to the public budget like professional remoras? The opposition, for its part, shouts dictatorship while trying to remember how to actually be a real political party. All they do is make us feel sorry for them, and from there we jump to the banking convention. Chachas came and told the bankers what hurts them the most, to let go of the money. In a display of optimism worthy of a fortune cookie, she asked them to finance small and medium-sized businesses because the public budget just isn't enough. What a revelation. They spent the money on trains that derail, an airport where only flies fly, an airline that's embarrassing, a refinery that not only floods but also catches fire at the slightest provocation. And now they want private banks to perform the miracle of the loaves and fishes. Sounds great, but watch out, here comes the masterstroke. Mandatory digital payment. Now, even to fill up your beat-up suru with 200 pesos of magna, you'll have to use the QR code. They say it's to fight tax evasion, but we all know it's so the Servicio de Administración Tributaria can know even how many times you go to the bathroom and how much toilet paper you use. Modern times have caught up with us, and now we have a payment terminal stuck to our foreheads. On the other hand, Mexico City is still the biggest parking lot in the country, thanks to the Centi. The teachers are at the Zócalo and Reforma asking for whatever the Presi Chacha promised them when she was campaigning. Same as always, the irony speaks for itself. While Scheinbold Trufia talks about digitalization and the future at the banking convention, just a few meters away we have thousands of people blocking traffic to demand that the last century's educational model keeps getting financial steroids. It's the two-tiered Mexico. One wants to soar with artificial intelligence, and the other can't move forward because the union hasn't had breakfast yet. Now, getting into the more intense topics, it turns out that our brand new super cop, the Batman of Temu, Omar Garcia Harfouch, woke up wanting to be a storyteller. At the Cancun morning press conference, they sold us the trailer for an action movie in Sinaloa. Once you get off the bad guy's side, wounded Marines, smoke, fire, and surprise, they had Monica Zambada Niebla, the heiress of the Sombrero dynasty, in their hands, and they decided the best thing was to treat her with respect. "Excuse me, miss, go on your way," says Omarcito with that icy look and his donkey-licked hairstyle. That there was no arrest warrant, of course. It sounds logical in this country. Catching a big fish is like playing the fishing game at the fair. You catch him, take a picture for the security cabinet's Instagram, and then you let him go. Is it because the paperwork is tough or because you could get in big trouble with the old man? Pea-soaked legs from Palenque. The hugs, not bullets strategy has evolved in this administration to bullets for the pawns, coffee, and cookies for the bosses. It seems that in the wonderful world of welfare security, the concept of a high-impact operation has evolved into something much more cutting-edge, military tourism with home delivery. What we saw in the community of El Alamo, in the district of El Salado, It wasn't a miscalculation, much less a confusion. It was a masterpiece of political surrealism that would leave Dali asking for private lessons. Imagine the scene: 3 armed helicopters flying across the Sinaloan sky, more than 100 Navy personnel and the elite armed forces, recently unveiled by our Super Secretary of Security, Omar Garcia Harfouch, with all the glamour of an action movie, funded with our taxes. Everything seems to indicate that the goal was ambitious: to catch the current heir to the glories of the Zambada faction. The spectacular nature of the operation suggests that the Navy was not after an unarmed woman, but rather a high-profile target, most likely Ismael Zambada Siqueiros, also known as Mayito Flaco. When they failed to capture the main target, the federal forces probably decided not to leave empty-handed, so they improvised and arrested the daughter of El Mayo Zambada. If this theory is true, they probably warned him that the Marines were on their way, or maybe they just have a better Google Maps algorithm than our intelligence forces. Instead, they ran into Monica del Rosario Zambada Niebla and her husband, and it was easy for them. This is where the irony reaches stratospheric levels. The federal forces, not wanting to leave empty-handed, because how embarrassing would it be to return to the capital without a trophy, arrest Monica, try to get her on the helicopter, and attempt to set up a security perimeter worthy of a transfer to Guantanamo, but a lousy one, and in the Mexican way. Women from the community opposed the arrest, and surely the red phone rang, or WhatsApp, or a telepathic message from Palenque, and suddenly the signal changed. My mom says, "Actually, never mind." Even though she's been on the Office of Foreign Assets Control lists of the United States Department of the Treasury since 2007 for money laundering, it turned out that in Mexico there was no arrest warrant. What bad luck, we forgot the little paper at the office. For those who are not familiar with this matter, the list, Office of Foreign Assets Control. The Office of Foreign Assets Control is a United States registry that identifies individuals, organizations, and countries sanctioned for drug trafficking, terrorism, or threats to national security. Known as the Blacklist or Clinton List, it freezes financial assets under United States jurisdiction and prohibits doing business with them. What's truly unsettling is the pattern. We already saw it with Ovidio in 2019. They have him, they let him go, and the boss comes out to say, "I gave the order to avoid a massacre." Now, with Mayo's daughter, the narrative is even more opaque. Was it due to a lack of legal grounds, or was it because the Mexican state has an invisible red line it doesn't dare cross with the Zambada family? While in Mexico we're playing tag and authorities almost apologize to the criminals, in the United States the kingpins are singing louder than Luis Miguel at the National Auditorium. Vicentillo negotiated, Chapo's sons did too, Mayo is in that loop, and political uncertainty in Mexico is growing faster than inflation. What this event in El Salado makes clear is the fragmentation of power. On one side, the Army is operating with the Northern Command, and on the other, the Navy, and Harfouch trying to save face after his tour in Washington with the Drug Enforcement Administration and the FBI. In the middle, a lady president who appears to learn about everything in the country via social media. Is it incompetence? Is it fear? Or is it that someone in high places needs Mayo to keep his mouth shut and not reveal what he knows about certain people? The release of Monica Zambada is not an isolated event. It's a message that the state can reach, can enter, but it doesn't always decide, or they don't let it finish the job. This is exactly why Donald Trump puts pressure and insists that the cartels rule in Mexico. Now let's go to the court of the blind, deaf, and very convenient. It turns out that after years of going around the issue, the INE turned a blind eye because of the statute of limitations, and the prosecutor's office, the one that only serves to go after opponents, shelved the case. For lack of evidence, the Electoral Tribunal of the federal judiciary put the final nail in the coffin of justice. The verdict is that the videos of Pio López Obrador receiving packages of cash are worthless. Give me a damn break. The court says there isn't enough evidence, of course, because seeing a guy receiving bags of money from David Leon while you can hear the bills rustling is surely just a Hollywood special effect or a collective hallucination from those of us who actually pay taxes. For these magistrates who seem more like clerks from the palace than constitutional judges, the video has less evidentiary value than a 3-peso bill. Remember the old refrain about not lying, stealing, or betraying? Well, Pio did the whole combo. He stole trust and who knows how much more. from the public funds disguised. He lied about their contributions and betrayed millions who believed this government would be different. The most pathetic thing isn't the difficult brother. What's truly despicable is the justification from the then master of the morning conferences, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. With that ability, he has to twist logic until Chile told us that it's not the same, that those resources were to strengthen the movement. Well then, if tomorrow I rob a bank but say it's to buy kibble for stray dogs, it's no longer a crime. It's the institutionalization of electoral crime disguised as a social cause, its cynicism elevated to the level of state policy. But without a doubt, this is a file that doesn't close in memory. The court may send the case file to the darkest basement of its archives, and the judges may sleep peacefully with their year-end bonuses. But what they can't erase is the image. The image of fraternal corruption is the monument to these 2 6-year terms. While they audit every last deposit of 1,000 pesos in your debit account, the relatives of those in power are forgiven for suitcases full of cash because they're considered contributions. Is this selective justice at its finest? The court didn't say a word, precisely because a word is the symbol that in the fourth transformation the law is just a suggestion, and complicity is the requirement to be on the payroll. That's how another week ends in this blessed country, where criminals are tourists, allies are enemies, and progress is measured by how many QR codes you can scan before you get mugged. We've added another golden page to the National Simulation Book. If this were a Netflix series, it would have already been canceled for being implausible. But since it's Mexico, we have more seasons until 2030 at least. This is how, dear audience, cultured and knowledgeable, another chapter of impunity closes in the national comedy we call government. But don't worry, there are still people who defend the indefensible and keep applauding while they're being made fools of. But in the end, history isn't written by the rulings of corrupt courts, but by the facts that remain engraved in the memory of those of us who actually remember. But what do you think? I'll read your comments. See you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Remember that you can make your donations via PayPal. You can find the information in the comment section. Thanks to you, this channel stays active. It's very important to subscribe, like, and press the bell to receive notifications whenever there's new content. Thank you.